Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Project Zomboid. Today, well, like I said last time, I'm going to have my character read the rest of this tailoring book, so I can fix my uniform maybe a little bit more properly. And in the meantime, I'm going to talk to you about these things. Oh, yes. So, I apologise in advance for all of you that are completely uninterested in any of these weapons. I would like to share some information that I have about them, though. But it's okay, I only have, information about 2 or 3 or 4 of these. It's just not all of them. But yeah, I'm gonna sit there and read, and while the character's reading, I might as well talk to you about this. If you want, you can skip it down, you can just skip through this bit. Basically, when I start leaving this room, we're gonna just, go on with the Let's Play properly. I'm gonna stop nerding out about guns, but until I do stop nerding out about these guns, let's get to it, shall we? So, I'm gonna start off with the gun that I know the least amount about. Or 2 of them, actually. The Smith & Wesson Mark 22 is not something I'm familiar with. I could have looked it up for this video, but honestly, I have plenty of guns to cover already, and I don't want to make this 45 minutes of me just ranting on about firearms. So I can see that it says it's a single stack 9mm, which leads me to believe that this is a fairly old firearm, because I don't see a reason why you wouldn't make it a double stack magazine. Hell, even a Glock can pull off a double stack magazine in 9mm and still be tiny and, perfectly suitable for concealed carry, so yeah, this leads me to believe this is an old firearm. Other than that, I really don't know much. If it's a Smith & Wesson and it says Mark 22, that usually means it's the 22nd model of the gun that they... But no, that goes for revolvers. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the case for their semi-automatic pistols as well. I honestly don't know. At this point, I'm just speculating. I don't know anything about this firearm, I'll be completely honest with you. The other gun I don't know much about, but I do know something, is the Daewoo DR200 rifle. Now, I know that this is a variant of the Daewoo K2 rifle. I believe this is the civilian version. Which means it should only be able to fire in single fire mode, no fully automatic, which is fine. It is essentially the Chinese, what the hell, the South Korean variant of, I believe, something between an M16 and an M4, leaning more towards the M16. Essentially, South Korea had access to those American-made firearms, and at one point in their country's existence decided, you know what, we might as well start making our own rifles, because it's probably going to make everything cheaper and make the whole logistics of it more viable. Plus, we are an independent country, we... might as well start acting like one and start developing our own weapons and not just rely on buying stuff from the US and gifts from the US. So they did. And they made a M16, partially, I think, inspired weapon. It is chambered in 5.56. Their entire military uses it to this day in various configurations and modernizations of the thing. And there you go, that's all I know about it. Now, in terms of its internal actual operations and how the recoil functions and the trigger mechanism and grouping and the barrel and all of that, I know very little of its actual internals, its guts, I just know the overall design of the thing and then the overall concept of it, I suppose. So there you go. That's the only thing I know about the gun. Not much, but it's something at least. This is probably one of those guns that I will never get to see in real life. Ever. Matter of fact, they're pretty rare even in the US. They're pretty rare, I think, globally. This is a South Korean thing, and they don't get exported much. Guns generally in South Korea are not very much a thing, so, yeah. Sorry about that. Outside the military, I mean. So as a result, I don't believe I'm ever going to encounter this in real life. If I do, I'll be highly surprised, but there you go. Now let's get on to the interesting stuff. And for me, the most interesting out of all of these would be, well, the AK-12, because very, very, very soon I intend on buying one. Well, not the AK-12, something similar to it, which is basically a modernization of the AKM. And people misname these an AK-47 all the bloody time, both in the media and even people who know better. They tend to refer to these rifles as an AK-47. It's not. In fact, pretty much all of these AK-style, quote-unquote, weapons that you see everywhere, be it the local for me at least, Zastava, or Zastava as I think they call them in the US, but it's Zastava, variants like the M70, the M70AB, the M70AB2, the PAP, etc., etc. All of those are technically AK-style weapons, but they are modernizations or variants of the AKM. The AK-47 has been out of date for a very long time. Matter of fact, in those stereotypical sort of movies depicting terrorists and Middle Eastern factions fighting against each other, you'll see, well, they're using AK-47s. No, they're also using AKMs in the vast majority of those movies. In some instances, yes, age-old AK-47s make an appearance. And they've been poorly maintained for probably 60 years and yet somehow still work. Yes, it happens. I'm not saying that an AK-47 doesn't exist in the world anymore. That's preposterous. There's God knows how many of them out there. But what I am saying is that a lot of the time people will talk about the weapons like these and say, oh, it's a modernization of the AK-47. Technically, it's a modernization of the AKM, which is a modernization of the AK-47, but it looks and plays a lot more like an AKM than an AK-47. The detail between the two, well, ultimately, it's a select-fire assault rifle, and it uses the gas blowback piston system, and both of them do, and actually all the variants use the same recoil system, more or less, and on the whole, it's pretty much the same system, right? It's the Kalashnikov patent system, so there you go. But, for the sake of, accuracy, it is an AKM, a modernization of the AKM. Specifically, well, actually, the AK-12 is a modernization, technically, of the AK-74, which is a variant of the AKM in many ways. See, the AK-74 is just an AKM chambered in 5.45 x 39. That's the biggest difference. There are some other differences as well. The 74 is a little bit more modernized, etc., etc., but the point being, that's it. Now, there are very, very modern rifles of the AK pattern, or the AK style, if you will, that are still chambered in the original 30 caliber round. That's 7.62 by 39. And I think one of the more prestigious ones and one of the more popular ones are the Romanian, the Bulgarian, and the Serbian one, or the Yugoslavian one, if you will. The AB2, I think, is a fairly good rifle, at least from what I've heard. The AB2 technically is just the military version, because it has full auto. The most modern Yugoslavian traditional AK-style weapon for civilians would be the PAP, or the PAP, which stands for semi-automatic rifle. In the original, if you're ready for this, poluautomatska puška, sorry, didn't mean to scare you with a different language, I'm kidding, but, there you go. In the original, PAP, so, in the original language, I mean, PAP, G, so, don't ask me what the G stands for, I don't know. No, I genuinely don't. But the PAPG is the most modern variant, I think, and it came out relatively recently. Thus far, I haven't been able to find reviews of the thing. I found one or two, which were, I think, 2 years ago. I found one guy that bought it online at some point and talked about it, asking for AR-style, Jesus, what's the word? The thing that you put your shoulder against. Jesus, I've completely forgotten the word. I want to say... No, I've completely forgotten the word. It's the thing that goes on your shoulder and stops the recoil from knocking your teeth out, right? So you get a proper grip on the shoulder thing that you press into the shoulder and the stock. There we go. Asking for an AR-style stock. Freaking hell. brain completely froze. And a 30-round magazine, because the gun officially, the gun originally comes with two 10-round magazines, intended for hunting, so, you don't get a 30-round magazine, you need to buy that aftermarket. Luckily, though, you don't need many papers or anything to buy a 30-round magazine. At least not yet. Anywho, so yeah, that's the PAPG, and the AK-12 is kind of similar to it. Now, the reason I'm talking so much about the PAPG is because I've held one. Didn't shoot one, but I held one. Because my uncle's friend bought one, and he brought it here, and I was like, really, you bought that? Well, I was like, because we didn't talk to each other prior to that, I didn't know the guy, like, not really. I think I met him once, and I was like, really, that's what I want to buy in, like, a couple of months, because, well, there was a whole administrative ban thing, and then I had some trouble, not trouble, I had some, work-related issues, and I was extremely busy, and didn't have time to get all the paperwork and all that stuff. But anyways, the point is, I was like, in a few months, I want to buy that too. And I was like, that's a great choice. Mostly because it's exactly the same choice I made. So, I applaud you on that. Bearing in mind, the AK-12 is a little bit worse. You see, that's the thing. A lot of people talk about, how do we put this, like, military-grade weapons. Don't insult my rifle, it's not that bad. Is often the response you'll hear from gun owners. That genuinely does make a lot of sense. Civilian weapons are generally a lot better quality than military-style rifles, or military-grade rifles, quote-unquote. Military-grade rifles are provided to you, often, by the lowest bidder, and civilians can spend any amount of money on any kind of quality they want for their rifle, because it's private property, right? So, with that said, let's drink half of this soup, put this away, and realise that I've spent about 10 minutes ranting on about firearms and haven't picked up any of them, and that I should probably, go ahead and do so. And I haven't talked about the Galil yet. Okay, so, put this in the holster. Replace the Beretta, as I talk about this thing. So anyways, the AK-12 is basically a modernization of the AK-74, and it's just the same rifle chambered in 5.45x39. It comes with a Picatinny rail. I talked about it on the Stalker series quite a bit. It's nothing revolutionary. It's the same rifle. It has like some Picatinny rails. It has like some more attractive furnishing and furniture, and etc. etc. It's basically the same weapon. There's nothing too wow about it. The reason I don't like it in this game is it comes in 5.45x39, which is exceptionally rare in the US at this time. In reality, not so much, but at this time, it's exceptionally rare in the US, and as a result, I don't really think it's the greatest idea known to mankind to actually pick this weapon up, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And the other weapon I'm going to pick up is the IMI Galil. An iconic weapon, which actually got its iconic status. Well, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but for now, the other weapon I'm going to talk about, but I'm not going to pick up, is the Heckler & Co. Cavs shotgun. It was designed as a prototype for the US military, if I recall correctly. The idea was a fully automatic shotgun which could fire certain types of projectiles that the US military wanted, didn't have a lot of recoil, etc., etc., and then this was born. It's a bullpup shotgun. I despise everything bullpup. Sorry. Well, okay, the AUG gets a pass. The AUG is a cool rifle. It gets a pass. The Tavor, pretty cool. The OBS, the Groza, no. And pretty much everything else. The British ones, trash, no. Hate them. AUG gets a pass, because it's kind of cool. But everything else, no. Alright. The production was cancelled, I think. I don't know if there's any of them in circulation that were ever made in the market, and whether it's just a paper gun, but if it's in the mod, I'm assuming there's a few out there. But it actually, I think, see, this has a 12 gauge, 20 shells drum magazine. The original came with 10 shells, which isn't that much, but it's not bad. But yeah, it beat out most of his competition, but for some reason the production was cancelled. I couldn't find information why, but there you go. Alright, and now I'm going to break my promise and stop talking about weapons immediately as soon as I leave the room, because I will talk about the Galil just for a couple of sentences. An iconic weapon, it's basically an Israeli Kalashnikov. The Israelis previously used the FAL, I think. A lot of people say M16 or something like that because their relations with the US. No, they used the FAL, and they believed it was bulky and it jammed too much. Later down the line, they figured that, yeah, weapons tend to jam if you don't maintain them at all, which was a problem in the army, especially during the Yom Kippur War and the 6 Days War. Especially now during the 6 Days War, the soldiers found themselves arming themselves with the IMI Uzi a lot more often, which is now, by the way, IMI is now IWI, if you want to look it up. It's the Israeli weapons industry, and it's been privatized, and etc., etc. Back in the day, though, it was national industry, and it was called IMI, the Israeli Military Industries. So, anyways, the inventor, I think, was Israel, which is hilarious given the country, Galili, and, well, weapon was as a result of his name, called the Galil. It's a phenomenal weapon. It's like a very well put together, very high quality AK. And it's kind of like a marriage between a FAL and an AK. The reason was the Israeli military wanted a weapon that was just as accurate and just as accurate as a FAL, with all the advantages of such a weapon and such a system, but which was easy to maintain and just as reliable as something like an AK-47. In fact, the Israeli army really liked the AK-47s, which is... Here's the thing, they got them off the Egyptians. They captured a large number of them during the 6 Days War, and they started arming themselves with it. And you can call me a commie, you can call me, you know, a Russophile, or you can call me whatever the hell you want. Far too often in the history of war do you have the situation where an army got its hands on some new Western tech, and then halfway through the conflict realized, yeah, you know what, these are cool, but the AKs are just way more reliable, and we prefer to stick with these. They're easier to clean, they're easier to maintain, it's a tried system that works, the gun will shoot any ammo you feed it, it's just bloody awesome. Yeah, we're just gonna stick with that. Because I know of like 4 or 5 wars where that happened. Yeah. And with the case of the Israeli military, it's not even the case that, or in this situation, it's not even the case that the army was previously used to the AK system, so they're like, oh, you know, we're just going back to the stuff we know how to use because we haven't been trained with this properly, and we're not used to using this. No, the Israelis were being trained on the FAL, and were used to using the FAL for a long time. Just that they found the AK better. Goes to show how great of a system it is, and also it was to show that there is a reason why that weapon and that pattern of weapon has taken more lives in the history of warfare than pretty much anything else, save for maybe the spear. If we can classify spear as, you know, if we can put that as one weapon, every spear and every type of spear that's ever been made, if we can put that as one weapon, then maybe the spear has it beat. But if not that, if, you know, we have to differentiate between pike, spear, and different kinds of spears that have been made by different civilizations across history, then yeah, the AK wins. Easy. Not saying it's the best weapon ever, I'm not saying it's the most reliable weapon ever, but saying it has just the right combination of cheap, reliable, works, easy to use, easy to maintain, that, you know, a lot of people that have used it seem to agree with me. Now, With that said, the Galil is that, except married to a fowl and made with a lot of quality and just good. Certainly better than what the Egyptian AKs were at the time, and you ended up with that. It's a mishmash of different things, it's a bloody awesome weapon, and this one is chambered in 308. So here's the thing. The Galil came in 3 variants, I believe. The SAR, the AR, and the ARM, which is the one I have here. So the ARM was the the assault rifle machine gun, I think. The SAR was the semi-automatic rifle, and the AR was assault rifle. So those were the 3 variants that it was made in. But you may know that it's an iconic weapon that's present in so many video games, from the Call of Duties to the Counter-Strikes, and etc., etc. But you may not know where its iconic... and there's the whole reason why I started talking about the gun outside of that room. You may not know where its iconic status sort of comes from. What video game or movie initiated this whole fascination with the weapon, I suppose. What video game or movie gave it a platform and then inspired pretty much dozens of other video games and movies and stuff like that to start using the rifle and to include it in their respective arsenals or their scenes, etc., etc. And that movie is the movie Heat, starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Yep, it was used by one of the bank robbers in Heat, and it was one of his... I don't think it... well, I don't know if it was the first appearance of that rifle in a Hollywood movie. It may have been, but it doesn't really matter if it was the first or not. It was a hugely popular, hugely successful movie that from that point a lot of people went, oh, that looks like a cool rifle, what is it? And then on top of that, it's kind of exotic, because it's an Israeli rifle. Like, ooh, okay. Good. We'll have one of those, please, in the video game, in the movie, and in pretty much everywhere. So from then on, a legend was born in some respect. So there you go. All you wanted to know and more about the Galil. Okay, so there's a laundromat there. I don't know if there's zombies around. Of course there are. I want to go into that laundromat to try and find a needle. Shite. Okay, a little bit more difficult than I wanted it to be, but I guess that's what I get for not... Oh, there's a straight up 1911. Well, I have the Para Ordnance one, which should be a little bit better, I think. Jesus, how many of these things are going to come after me? I also just noticed I'm getting tired again. But this time it kind of makes sense considering how long I was awake for. And what I was doing all this bloody time. Plus, I did get woken up. So, yeah. All the washing machines empty. Jesus. All the dryers empty too. Wow. Okay. Okay. Sit down. No needle for me. But I tell you what, considering it's so... Well, it's 4 PM. It's not late by any stretch of the imagination, but considering the time... Shite, never mind. Nope, never mind. Never mind the time. Time's not that... It's not that late. Let's keep doing what we were doing. Okay. Plan B. Plan B, I think, is me going back to my favourite room. Which I've found thus far, because I'm a bit drowsy and I would like some sleep. Ooh, wait. Close that door. I'll grab one just in case. Can I grab one? Yes, I can. Okay. Plan B, like I was saying, go back to my favourite room and sleep here for the night. Yeah. Don't see a reason why not to. Just gonna close the curtains over here. Don't want to leave the Uzi though, probably, right? Yeah, it's just an extended magazine. Equally iconic of a weapon, it's just that, you know, can't have it all, and not really my thing all that much. I have a lot more respect for the Galil than I have for the Uzi. Not that I think it's a bad weapon, just, you know. I did actually have the chance to shoot one too, so, it's cool, don't get me wrong. It's very, very cool, very heavy. Well, very heavy. It's not very heavy, but it was heavier than I expected. Which is a good thing. It's not like unpleasantly heavy, it's just there's weight behind it, which helps with the recoil. 9mm doesn't have much recoil, but when you're firing full auto, you know, you do need a little bit of grip to it, and yeah, it's some of that weight. Overall, the general shape and stuff really helped, and I thought it would be a bit clunky, sort of, for my hands, just looking at it. But when I actually picked it up, it felt really nice. So I don't have anything bad to say about the gun, just that it's not really for me. There's different types of SMGs I prefer, but yeah. Right. Well, this looks like a relatively decent pistol. I now want to look it up. I want to see what this thing is made of and when it was constructed. Anywho, yeah, I'm just going to sleep here, I think, for the night. Nothing else to do. I woke up at a terrible time. Good, just a really, really terrible time. Okay, well, I guess it's down to more reading and exercising, and yeah. Alright, well, anyways, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. I will see you all next time. I'm going to stick close to this window, try and use some of the moonlight from outside, I suppose, and read another book or two. But I think that's going to do it for this video, because it's been 30 minutes. I feel like it's been long enough. 20 of which have been dedicated to me rambling on about firearms, but I feel like it's better if this this video stays like this. That way you can just skip it if you're completely uninterested in something like this, and we'll start off from pretty much the same spot tomorrow, with maybe a little bit more, a little bit extra information. Well, tomorrow and in the next video is what I mean. Anyways, so thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video. Want to stay tuned with the rest of the content that I produce on the channel. Till next time, have fun, take care, and bye-bye.